The unlikely invitation. The Discovery Beyond Jupiter commander Elena Vasquez had been patrolling the outer edges of the solar system for 3 months when her sensors detected something impossible. The object appeared on her screens like a ghost, made of starlight, perfectly spherical and roughly the size of a small moon. It hung motionless in the void between Jupiter and Saturn, completely invisible to every detection system except the newest quantum sensors installed on her ship, the UES Pathfinder. Elena stared at the readings, her 20 years of space exploration experience telling her that what she was seeing shouldn't exist. The object wasn't reflecting light or emitting energy. Instead, it seemed to be bending space around itself in ways that made her instruments struggle to maintain a lock on its position. "Computer, run a full-spectrum analysis," she commanded, her voice steady despite the excitement building in her chest. The response came back within seconds, displaying readings that made her heart race. The object was composed of materials that didn't appear on any periodic table, arranged in patterns that seemed to shift and change even as she watched. Elena activated the emergency communication array, sending a priority message back to Earth. Command. This is Commander Vasquez aboard the Pathfinder. I've discovered an unidentified object of clearly artificial origin in Sector 7 Gamma, requesting immediate scientific support and authorization to approach. The response came 12 hours later, carrying the weight of humanity's collective excitement and fear. President James Walker himself appeared on the screen, flanked by the world's top scientists and military advisors. Elena, you're looking at what might be humanity's first confirmed evidence of intelligent alien life. Dr. Marcus Chen from the Global Physics Institute is being shuttled to your position. Under no circumstances are you to approach that object until he arrives. Dr. Marcus Chen reached the Pathfinder 3 days later, his shuttle barely containing his excitement and a massive array of scientific equipment. The physicist was younger than Elena had expected, probably in his early 30s, with the kind of intense focus that came from dedicating your entire life to understanding the universe's deepest mysteries. Commander, I've been studying your sensor data for the past 72 hours, Marcus said as he settled into the ship's science station. This object isn't just alien technology. It's technology that operates on principles we're only beginning to understand. The way it manipulates space-time suggests a civilization thousands of years more advanced than us. Elena watched Marcus work, marveling at how quickly he adapted the ship's sensors to get clearer readings of the mysterious object. Any idea what it might be? She asked. A probe, I think, Marcus replied, his fingers dancing across the control panels. But not the kind that just observes and records. This thing is actively scanning our entire solar system, cataloging everything from the chemical composition of Jupiter's moons to the electromagnetic signatures of our space stations. It knows we're here, and it's been studying us. The breakthrough came on their second day of observation. Marcus had been experimenting with different communication frequencies when the object suddenly responded. A beam of structured energy reached out from the sphere, connecting with the Pathfinder's main computer systems. Every screen on the ship flickered simultaneously, displaying symbols that seemed to shift and flow like living things. It's a language, Marcus whispered, his voice filled with awe. But not just any language. This is mathematics given form, concepts expressed as visual patterns rather than words or numbers. Elena leaned over his shoulder, studying the alien symbols. Can you translate it? Marcus was already working, his advanced mathematics background allowing him to recognize patterns that others might miss. It's not translation exactly. It's more like learning to see mathematics the way they do. These symbols represent concepts that we express with entire equations. Hours passed as Marcus worked to decode the alien message. Elena found herself holding her breath as the physicist's excitement grew. Finally, he leaned back in his chair, his face pale with amazement. Elena, you need to contact Earth Command immediately, Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. This isn't just a message, it's an invitation. The message that changed everything. The decoded message appeared on the main screen of the Pathfinder, translated into English but retaining the flowing, elegant structure of the original alien mathematics. Elena read it aloud, her voice growing stronger with each word. To the species of the third planet of the star you call Sol, we are the Stellar Assembly, a confederation of 847 civilizations spanning this galaxy and beyond. We have observed your development for the past millennium, and we extend to you an invitation to join us as our 848th member species. Elena paused, the magnitude of the message sinking in. There are 847 alien civilizations and they want us to join them. Marcus nodded, but his expression was troubled. Keep reading. There's more, Elena continued. Your species displays a unique characteristic that has caught our attention. Where most civilizations develop along predictable paths toward order and efficiency, your species has maintained what you call creativity and what we term beneficial chaos. This trait, which typically leads to self-destruction, has instead driven your rapid advancement and problem-solving capabilities. The message went on to describe humanity's invitation to travel to Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Stellar Assembly, where they would be evaluated for full membership. But it was the final paragraph that left both Elena and Marcus speechless. We do not invite you as supplicants seeking our wisdom. We invite you as teachers, for your species possesses something our civilization has lost: the ability to find new solutions to old problems. The Stellar Assembly faces challenges that our accumulated wisdom cannot solve. We believe humanity may hold the key to our survival. Elena looked at Marcus, seeing her own amazement reflected in his eyes. They're not just inviting us to join them. They're asking for our help. It gets stranger, Marcus replied, pulling up additional data he had decoded from the alien probe. According to this, the Stellar Assembly has existed for over 50,000 years. They've achieved technological marvels we can barely imagine: faster than light travel, manipulation of matter at the quantum level, energy sources that could power our entire civilization for millions of years. So what problems could they possibly have that we could solve? Elena asked. Marcus displayed a series of complex diagrams on the screen. Stagnation. Their civilization has become so ordered, so efficient, so perfect, that they've lost the ability to innovate. They haven't developed a single new technology or solved a novel problem in over 5,000 years. Every challenge they face is met with the same solutions their ancestors used, even when those solutions no longer work. Elena studied the diagrams, beginning to understand the incredible situation humanity found itself in. They need our chaos. Exactly, Marcus confirmed. What we call creativity, what drives our artists and inventors and dreamers, that's what they've lost. And without it, their civilization is slowly dying. Preparing for the unknown. The return journey to Earth took 2 weeks, during which Elena and Marcus worked continuously to prepare their report for world leaders. The implications of the alien invitation were staggering, touching every aspect of human civilization from politics to religion to philosophy. President Walker convened an emergency session of the Global Council, bringing together representatives from every nation on Earth. The meeting took place in the secure chambers beneath Geneva, where humanity's most important decisions were made. Ladies and gentlemen, President Walker began, his voice carrying the weight of history, we face a choice that will define our species' future. Commander Vasquez and Dr. Chen have brought us proof that we are not alone in the universe, and more importantly, that our place in the galactic community may be far more significant than we ever imagined. Elena presented their findings to the assembled leaders, describing the alien probe and the message it contained. The room remained silent as she explained the Stellar Assembly's invitation and their request for humanity's help in solving their civilization's crisis of stagnation. Dr. Chen followed with his analysis of the alien technology and the mathematical principles behind their communication. What we're looking at, he explained, is a civilization that has achieved perfection at the cost of progress. They've eliminated chaos, randomness, and uncertainty from their society, and in doing so, they've eliminated the very forces that drive innovation and growth. Questions came from every corner of the room. How could humanity possibly help a civilization thousands of years more advanced? What guarantees did they have that this wasn't some elaborate trap? How could they trust beings they had never seen? Ambassador Sarah Kim, Earth's most experienced diplomat raised her hand. Dr. Chen, you mentioned that their message described our creativity as beneficial chaos. Can you explain what that means? Marcus pulled up a holographic display showing human and alien mathematical approaches to the same problems. Look at how we solve engineering challenges versus how they do it. When we design a spacecraft, we consider thousands of variables, run countless simulations, and often discover unexpected solutions through trial and error. When they design something, they follow established patterns that have worked for millennia. Our chaos allows us to find solutions they would never consider, Elena added. We don't just think outside the box, we rebuild the box entirely when it doesn't work. The debate continued for hours, with representatives arguing about the risks and benefits of accepting the alien invitation. Some worried about humanity, being overwhelmed by more advanced civilizations. Others saw an opportunity for unprecedented growth and learning. Finally, President Walker called for order. The question before us is simple. Do we accept this invitation? Do we send representatives to meet with the Stellar Assembly? The vote was closer than expected, but the decision was unanimous among Earth's major powers. Humanity would accept the invitation, and Ambassador Sarah Kim would lead the delegation to Nexus Prime. The journey begins. 3 months of intense preparation followed the decision to accept the alien invitation. The probe, which had remained in orbit around Jupiter, provided detailed instructions for modifying human spacecraft to survive the journey to Nexus Prime. The modifications required technologies that pushed human engineering to its absolute limits. Dr. Chen led the technical team responsible for implementing the alien modifications to the UES Harmony, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel. The changes were remarkable. New engines that could manipulate space-time itself, shielding systems that protected against cosmic forces humans had never encountered, and communication arrays that could transmit across galactic distances. It's like they're teaching us to build a bicycle when we've only ever walked, Chen explained to Sarah as she toured the modified ship. The technology is far beyond us, but they've simplified it enough that we can actually use it. Sarah marveled. At the transformed vessel, the Harmony had been completely rebuilt from the inside out, incorporating alien technology that made it capable of surviving the journey between star systems. How long will the trip take? According to their calculations, about 3 weeks, Chen replied. We'll be traveling through something they call folded space, essentially taking shortcuts through dimensions we don't fully understand. The crew selected for the mission represented humanity's best and brightest. Besides Sarah as the diplomatic representative, the team included Elena as the military advisor, Marcus as the scientific liaison, and Captain Rodriguez as the ship's commander. Each had spent months studying everything humans had learned about the Stellar Assembly and preparing for challenges they couldn't even imagine. The departure ceremony was broadcast worldwide, watched by billions of people who understood they were witnessing a pivotal moment in human history. President Walker gave the final send-off speech, his words carrying the hopes and fears of an entire species. You carry with you not just the hopes of humanity, but our unique perspective on the universe, he told Sarah and her team. Remember that you're not going as students seeking wisdom from superior beings. You're going as equals, as representatives of a species that has something valuable to offer the galaxy. As the UES Harmony activated its alien-modified engines and disappeared into the folded space between dimensions, Elena couldn't help but wonder what they would find at Nexus Prime. The Stellar Assembly had described themselves as a confederation of civilizations seeking humanity's help. But what did that really mean? How could a species that had barely reached its own moon possibly help civilizations that had mastered the galaxy? The answer, she would soon learn, lay in the very thing that made humans unique. Their beautiful, chaotic, wonderfully unpredictable way of looking at the universe and finding solutions where others saw only problems. As Earth grew smaller and the view screen and the stars began to shift in patterns no human had ever seen, Sarah Kim prepared herself for humanity's greatest diplomatic challenge. She carried with her the hopes of 8 billion people and the promise that chaos, creativity, and human ingenuity might just be exactly what the galaxy needed. The Human Revolution arrival at Nexus Prime. The UES Harmony emerged from folded space into a reality that defied every expectation Sarah Kim and her team had formed during their 3-week journey. Nexus Prime wasn't just a planet. It was an entire solar system that had been transformed into a single massive civilization. Artificial rings circled multiple stars, connected by streams of pure energy that carried ships and cargo across distances that would have taken months to traverse with conventional technology. Captain Rodriguez stared at the navigation displays, trying to comprehend the scale of what they were seeing. "There are structures here larger than Earth's moon," he reported, his voice filled with awe. "Some of these orbital platforms could house billions of beings." Dr. Marcus Chen worked frantically at his scientific station, recording everything his instruments could detect. "The energy readings are incredible," he announced. "They're manipulating matter at a fundamental level, essentially treating the laws of physics like suggestions rather than absolute rules." Commander Elena Vasquez studied the tactical displays, her military training automatically analyzing the defensive capabilities of the massive structures surrounding them. What she saw both impressed and concerned her. "Their defenses could probably destroy our entire solar system without breaking a sweat," she observed. "But there's something strange about their positioning." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, moving to look over Elena's shoulder. "These weapons are ancient," Elena explained, pointing to the energy signatures on her screen. "Incredibly powerful, but the technology behind them hasn't been updated in thousands of years. It's like they built the perfect defense system and then never bothered to improve it." Their conversation was interrupted by an incoming transmission. The main screen flickered, displaying the image of a being that looked like it had been carved from living crystal. Its form shifted and flowed, colors rippling across its surface in patterns that seemed to convey meaning beyond words. "Welcome, representatives of humanity," the being said, its voice somehow managing to sound both ancient and melodic. "I am Zephyr 9. A construct of the stellar assembly created to interface with new species. Your arrival has been anticipated with great excitement." Sarah stepped forward, drawing on her decades of diplomatic experience. "Thank you for the welcome, Zephyr 9. I am Ambassador Sarah Kim, representing Earth and humanity. We're honored by your invitation and eager to learn how we might contribute to the stellar assembly." Zephyr 9's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been amusement. "Ambassador Kim, I believe you misunderstand the nature of your visit. You are not here as students seeking wisdom. You are here as consultants brought to solve problems that have plagued our civilization for millennia." The construct guided their ship toward a docking facility that was itself larger than most Earth cities. As they approached, Sarah could see other vessels of countless different designs, representing technologies and aesthetic philosophies from hundreds of different worlds. "The Assembly Council awaits you," Zephyr 9 explained as they prepared to disembark. "But I must warn you, what you are about to see may challenge your assumptions about advanced civilization." The perfect stagnation. The meeting hall of the Stellar Assembly was a marvel of engineering and artistry that left the human delegation speechless. The chamber existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, allowing beings from radically different environments to participate in the same discussion. Some delegates appeared to be made of pure energy, others were massive crystalline structures, and still others defied any easy description. At the center of the assembly sat 3 beings who radiated age and authority. The first was a creature that resembled a tree made of silver metal, its branches reaching toward the ceiling in perfect geometric patterns. The second appeared to be a cloud of sentient gas contained within a force field that occasionally sparked with electrical discharges. The third was the most alien of all, a being that seemed to exist partially outside normal space-time, its form shifting between dimensions in ways that hurt to look at directly. "We are the Triumvirate," the tree being spoke, its voice like wind through metal leaves. "We have guided the stellar assembly for 7,000 years, maintaining the stability and order that has allowed our civilization to prosper." Sarah felt Elena tense beside her. The commander's military instincts were clearly picking up on something that made her uncomfortable. Your civilization is incredibly impressive, Sarah replied diplomatically. We're curious to learn how we might assist you. The gas cloud being pulsed with different colors as it spoke. Our problem is simple to describe but impossible for us to solve. For the past 5,000 years, our civilization has achieved perfect efficiency. Every system operates at optimal capacity. Every problem has a known solution. Every challenge can be met with established protocols. Dr. Chen leaned forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming diplomatic protocol. That sounds like an ideal situation. What's the problem? The dimensional being's form stabilized enough for its voice to become clear. The problem is that perfection breeds stagnation. When every solution is known, there is no need for discovery. When every system is optimized, there is no room for improvement. When every outcome is predictable, there is no place for innovation. Elena spoke up, her military training giving her a different perspective on the problem. You've eliminated uncertainty from your civilization. Precisely, the tree being confirmed. And uncertainty, we have learned too late, is the driving force behind all progress. Without it, we have become a civilization of caretakers, maintaining systems we no longer remember how to improve. Zephyr 9 materialized beside the human delegation, its crystalline form projecting images into the air around them. The images showed the history of the stellar assembly, thousands of years of incredible advancement followed by millennia of gradual decline. Not decline in the traditional sense. Their technology still worked perfectly, their society remained stable, but decline in the ability to grow, to change, to adapt. We face challenges now that our perfect systems cannot solve. The gas cloud being explained. Energy shortages that our optimized solutions cannot address. Threats from beyond our galaxy that our established military doctrines cannot counter. Social problems that our proven methods cannot resolve. Marcus studied the projected data, his mind racing as he began to understand the true scope of the problem. You've created a civilization that's too perfect to evolve. And evolution, Sarah realized, is exactly what you need to survive these new challenges. The human approach, the following days were spent in intensive meetings as the human delegation learned about the specific problems facing the stellar assembly. The challenges were indeed formidable. An energy crisis caused by the increasing power demands of their perfect systems, military threats from a hostile extragalactic force that didn't follow conventional warfare patterns, and growing unrest among younger generations of assembly species who felt constrained by the rigid perfection of their society. Each problem had been approached by the assembly's greatest minds, using their most advanced analytical methods. Committees had been formed. Studies had been conducted and solutions had been proposed, all following protocols that had worked for thousands of years. But none of the solutions addressed the fundamental nature of the challenges. Elena was the first to make a breakthrough. While studying the assembly's military situation, she noticed something that the alien strategists had missed entirely. Your entire defense strategy is based on the assumption that enemies will attack you the same way they've always attacked you, she explained to a gathering of assembly military leaders. General Kethlar, a massive insectoid being who commanded the assembly's largest fleet, clicked its mandibles in what might have been frustration. Our defensive protocols have proven effective against every threat we have encountered for 3,000 years. But this new extragalactic force isn't following your protocols, Elena replied, displaying her analysis on a holographic projector. They're using what we would call guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run attacks, psychological warfare, asymmetric strategies designed to avoid your strengths and exploit weaknesses you didn't know you had. She pulled up examples from Earth's military history, showing how smaller, less advanced forces had repeatedly defeated larger, more sophisticated armies by refusing to fight according to established rules. The solution isn't to perfect your existing strategies. The solution is to embrace the chaos of unpredictable warfare. General Kethlar studied the human military examples with growing interest. You suggest that we deliberately introduce randomness into our tactics? I suggest that you learn to be creatively destructive, Elena confirmed. Sometimes the best Way to solve a problem is to break all the rules and try something that shouldn't work but does. Meanwhile, Dr. Chen was making his own discoveries about the assembly's energy crisis. The problem wasn't a lack of resources or inefficient technology. The problem was that their perfectly optimized systems had become so interdependent that any attempt to upgrade one component required upgrading everything else simultaneously. It's like trying to repair a watch while it's running, he explained to Vexara, a young alien scientist who had been assigned to work with the human team. Your systems are so perfectly integrated that there's no room for experimentation or gradual improvement. Vexara, whose species resembled a cross between a dolphin and a butterfly, expressed confusion through the color patterns on her wing membranes. But surely gradual improvement would reduce efficiency during the transition period. Exactly, Marcus replied, his excitement growing. And that temporary reduction in efficiency is the price you pay for long-term advancement. You can't improve a perfect system because perfection leaves no room for the trial and error that drives innovation. He showed Vexara how human engineers approach similar problems, building test systems alongside operational ones, accepting temporary failures as learning opportunities, and constantly tinkering with designs even when they worked well. We call it controlled chaos, introducing just enough randomness to drive improvement without causing system collapse. The young revolution, Sarah's greatest diplomatic success, came from an unexpected source. The younger generation of assembly species, who had been quietly growing frustrated with their civilization's stagnation. These beings, some of whom were still considered children despite being centuries old by human standards, had been watching the human delegation with intense interest. The breakthrough came during an informal gathering in one of Nexus Prime's recreational areas. Sarah had been invited to speak with a group of young assembly members about human culture and history. What she found was a generation hungry for the very things their civilization had eliminated: uncertainty, creativity, and the possibility of failure. "You actually celebrate failure?" asked Zixla, a young being whose species resembled living coral formations. "On your world, failure is seen as positive?" "Not positive exactly," Sarah explained, "but necessary. We have a saying, failure is the teacher success can never be. Every mistake we make teaches us something that helps us succeed better the next time." The young assembly members exchanged what appeared to be meaningful glances across multiple species. They had been having similar discussions among themselves, questioning why their civilization had become so afraid of imperfection that they had stopped trying to improve. "We want to learn your methods," declared Theron Beta, a young synthetic intelligence that had been created by one of the assembly's AI species. "We want to experience the beneficial chaos you describe." This desire among the younger generation created immediate tension within the assembly. The triumvirate and other elder leaders saw the human influence as potentially destabilizing, threatening the very foundations of their perfect civilization. But the younger generation saw it as liberation from a system that had trapped them in eternal stagnation. The conflict came to a head during a formal assembly session where Sarah was asked to present humanity's recommendations for solving the civilization's various crises. The Great Chamber was packed with representatives from all 847 member species, creating a symphony of different communication methods that somehow harmonized into a single, understandable conversation. "Honored representatives of the Stellar Assembly," Sarah began, drawing on every diplomatic skill she had developed over her career. "My team and I have studied your challenges extensively. We believe we understand both the problems you face and why your traditional methods have been unable to solve them." She activated the holographic display system, showing the analysis her team had conducted. "Your civilization has achieved something remarkable: perfect stability and efficiency. But life itself is fundamentally chaotic. Evolution, growth, adaptation, all of these require a degree of randomness and uncertainty that your perfect systems have eliminated." The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives debated Sarah's words. Some species expressed outrage at the suggestion that their perfect civilization was somehow flawed. Others, particularly the younger members, showed excitement at the possibilities her words implied. The human doctrine. Sarah continued her presentation despite the growing tension in the chamber. We propose what we call the human doctrine, structured flexibility within stable systems. Instead of eliminating chaos, you learn to harness it. Instead of preventing failure, you create safe spaces where failure can teach valuable lessons. Dr. Chen joined her on the presentation platform, displaying his solutions for the energy crisis. Rather than trying to upgrade your entire energy grid simultaneously, you build small experimental systems alongside your main infrastructure. These test beds allow you to try new technologies without risking system-wide failures. Elena followed with her military recommendations. Instead of relying solely on proven tactics, you develop multiple strategic approaches and switch between them unpredictably. Your enemies can't counter strategies they can't predict. The response from the assembly was immediate and polarized. The triumvirate and elder representatives saw the human proposals as dangerously destabilizing. They had spent millennia building a civilization free from the chaos and uncertainty that had once plagued their species. The idea of deliberately reintroducing these elements seemed like madness, but the younger generation of assembly members saw the human proposals as exactly what their civilization needed. They had been born into a world where every question had a known answer, where every problem had an established solution, where every future was predetermined by past precedent. The possibility of genuine discovery and innovation excited them in ways their elders couldn't understand. The debate continued for days, with the assembly splitting into increasingly distinct factions. The traditional core, led by the triumvirate, argued for maintaining the stability that had allowed their civilization to prosper for millennia. The Progressive Alliance, primarily composed of younger members and a few elder species who remembered the excitement of discovery, advocated for implementing the human doctrine. Zephyr 9 found Sarah during one of the breaks in the formal sessions. "Your arrival has created quite a stir," the construct observed, its crystalline form flickering with complex patterns. "The assembly has not seen this level of disagreement in over 2,000 years." Sarah looked out through the massive windows of the meeting hall at the incredible structures of Nexus Prime. "Is that necessarily a bad thing?" "Perhaps not," Zephyr 9 replied. "Disagreement implies that different solutions are possible. For the first time in millennia, the assembly is considering multiple approaches to the same problem. That itself is a form of the beneficial chaos you describe." The split decision. The final vote came after 2 weeks of intense debate. The assembly faced a choice that would define their civilization's future: maintain their perfect stability or embrace the chaotic uncertainty that humans represented. The decision was closer than anyone had expected, but when the votes were counted, the result was unprecedented in assembly history. The Stellar Assembly formally split into 2 distinct organizations. The traditional core would maintain their established methods and continue to operate according to the principles that had guided them for millennia. The Progressive Alliance would implement the human doctrine, creating a new form of galactic civilization based on structured flexibility and beneficial chaos. Rather than seeing this as a failure, both factions recognized it as exactly the kind of creative solution that humanity had been advocating. Instead of forcing a single answer to their civilization's problems, they had found a way to try multiple approaches simultaneously. "This outcome honors both our past achievements and our future possibilities," declared the tree being from the triumvirate during the final session. "The traditional core will preserve the wisdom and stability our civilization has achieved. The Progressive Alliance will explore new methods and possibilities that our traditional approaches cannot address." General Kethler, who had become one of the strongest advocates for the human doctrine after seeing Elena's tactical innovations in action, spoke for the Progressive Alliance. "We go forward with excitement rather than certainty, with questions rather than predetermined answers. This is the gift humanity has given us: the courage to embrace uncertainty as a source of strength rather than weakness." The human delegation prepared to return to Earth, but their journey back would be very different from their arrival. Half of the assembly species had requested to establish formal relationships with humanity, eager to learn more about creative problem-solving and beneficial chaos. The other half wished to maintain respectful distance, while observing how the human approach developed. Most significantly, over 100 young assembly members requested permission to accompany the humans back to Earth, wanting to experience firsthand a civilization that celebrated creativity, uncertainty, and the possibility of failure as learning opportunities. The return home. As the UES Harmony prepared for departure from Nexus Prime, Sarah reflected on the incredible changes that had occurred during their visit. They had arrived expecting to be junior partners in an ancient civilization. Instead, they had catalyzed the largest transformation in galactic society in thousands of years. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Dr. Chen asked as they watched the massive structures of Nexus Prime recede into the distance. "We've essentially split their civilization in half." Elena, who had formed close working relationships with several assembly military leaders, shook her head. "We didn't split their civilization. We gave them permission to acknowledge a split that already existed. The younger generation was already frustrated with the stagnation. The older generation was already committed to their traditional methods. We just helped them find a way to honor both perspectives." Captain Rodriguez, who would be piloting their ship home through folded space, was studying the navigational data provided by their assembly hosts. "According to these charts, we're not just returning to Earth. We're returning to a solar system that's about to become one of the most important locations in the galaxy." Sarah understood what he meant. Earth would serve as the bridge between the traditional core and the progressive alliance, the place where ancient wisdom met innovative thinking. Humanity's chaotic creativity would help solve problems that pure logic couldn't address, while assembly knowledge would accelerate human development beyond anything they could have achieved alone. As they entered folded space for the journey home, Sarah composed her report for President Walker and the Global Council. The message was simple but profound. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not as students or subjects, but as teachers and partners. Their gift to galactic civilization wasn't their technology or their military might, but their uniquely human ability to find order within chaos and create beauty from uncertainty. The stars shifted around them as space folded, carrying them home to a world that would never be the same. Behind them, the stellar assembly began the greatest experiment in galactic history, learning to embrace the beautiful, creative, wonderfully unpredictable chaos that made life worth living. In the end, humanity had done more than join galactic civilization. They had reminded the galaxy why civilization was worth building in the first place.